Working with the Raspberry Pi GPIOs can be quite dangerous for your board if you don't exactly follow the instructions and if you plug a wire in the wrong place. Note that you don't really risk anything by yourself. The current is too low to get hurt or to hurt anyone. The risk here is to kind of fry your board, and after you fry your Raspberry Pi, you won't be able to use it anymore. So here are a few points that you have to follow, and if you carefully follow them, you won't have any problems. First, always power off your Raspberry Pi when you make a change in the circuit, even if it's just disconnecting and reconnecting one single cable. Power off your Pi, remove the power cable, make hardware changes, and then and only then repower on your Raspberry Pi. Second, when the Raspberry Pi is powered on with some hardware components, don't touch the components with your fingers. You may damage your Pi with an electrostatic discharge, also called ESD. And also this is quite obvious, but don't use any metallic tool to touch the hardware setup when it's running, for example a screwdriver. Only bad things can happen if you do that. Third point, before you power on your Raspberry Pi, double or even triple check your hardware setup, even if you're sure about it. Personally, even if I make the simplest hardware setup that I'm sure about, I still double check everything every time. 4. Always start with the ground pins and make sure that the ground is common for all your components. We are going to see that more in details in the next lessons. And finally, GPIO pins support only 3.3 volt. Don't connect anything using 5 volt directly to the GPIO pins, okay? You may burn the GPIO pin. So that is not an exhaustive list, okay? Those are some of the most important points you have to follow, and I will give some more warnings and stuff you have to do in the following lessons. Because just plugging a wrong cable in the wrong pin can destroy your Pi in a fraction of seconds, and then you have to buy a new one. It happened to me in the past and it's not really fun. Of course, I'm not saying that to scare you, I just want to make you extra careful with any hardware setup you will do in the future. If you follow what I do, and if you always double check any setup before booting your Raspberry Pi, then everything will be okay. And until you already know what you're doing, I suggest that you don't try to improvise with a hardware setup. I will make some explanation videos when I give you instructions to make a hardware setup, as well as the schematics for the activities. First watch the videos and then go step by step from beginning to end by pressing on the pause button between each small instruction. Alright, and now let's build our first circuit.